Hello and welcome back to the channel where we are going over Roll20 tips and tricks for DMs and stuff. This one actually is very player friendly. It's really, you feel free to share this one with your players. There's no spoilers or anything like that from any of the one shots that we're kind of going through as we're doing this. But we're going to do something we probably should have done it. Well, from a workflow standpoint, it kind of makes sense. We've gone through, we created our battle maps and got all our monsters all situated, did the dynamic lighting, all kinds of different things, right? Created character artwork. Now it's time for the characters to build their characters, their player characters that they're going to be actually playing with. There's a few different ways you can do this. The players can create their own, or you can create them for them. And one way may be better than the other depending on your situation. So yeah, lots to cover. So let's go ahead and get into it. So if right up here we have our my player account, right? It's just a free account I created just so I can do this and some OBS stuff, sharing screens with sharing your player screen versus a DM screen. We can get into OBS videos if you guys are interested as well. But if you go to tools and characters, you can see all the characters I have for this particular account, right? So as a player character, these are all the players I have. I'm actually going to go through and delete them if I wanted to. You can do that. Yes, delete. These are all just bogus stuff anyway. But you can choose whichever, game you want to play with. This is the 2014 only. This is both. If you want to choose that for Dungeons Dragons, if you want to do Pathfinder or whatever, there's more over here. We're going to create a new one using the 2024 rules. When you come here, you're going to get like this kind of guide. You can read that if you want. But as you're building a new character, you're just going to come here, build a new character, or you can choose one of the ready to play characters if you don't want to go through the whole build process. And you can take a look here and see what they have available for you. If any of these are attractive for you, you can just simply do that and choose whichever one you want, right? If you don't want to and you want to create one yourself, you can build a new character here. You can look at the view rule book here. If and this is kind of where it might be better for your DM to do this, but the DM can also share this out. As a player, if you're going to create a player character yourself, you must have access to the rule books that for the game system you want. For D&D, like if you're doing 2024 5th edition, then or 5.5 E, it's kind of really what it is. You have to have access to that rule book, whether you have to purchase it yourself or your DM shares it with you. And I think it's probably a better idea for all the players to get together with the DM and all kind of pitch in for that. So you don't have the DM doesn't have to buy it 3 times like I did. I have the physical books because I'm old and I like to look at the thing and read it and have it as a quick reference instead of using the computer. I've bought all 3 books for the 2024 and 2014 versions in Roll20, as well as D&D Beyond. I don't really use D&D Beyond. I think it's a great tool if you're playing in person. The integration between this and Roll20, if you're using that, is not so great. And the virtual tabletop that comes with it is not so great either. So I don't really use it, but I bought the books anyway. So I bought all 3 books twice. Tasha's Cauldron, or 3 times, physical, D&D Beyond, and Roll20. So it can get expensive for your DM. So I'll kind of chip in, and then the DM will be part of the DM account, and then that DM can share the compendium with the players in the game, which I have a video on how to do that, just doing the initial first game. All right, so that's how you build a new character. You kind of come through here. We're going to kind of go through a wizard and build a rogue, but we're going to do it from the actual game itself. So if we go back to games, my games, we'll do this using Roll20 game that we've been using. We'll join this as a player. Because I joined an incognito, it's not in dark mode, so we're gonna change that because I like dark mode. And then we'll get rid of the it's all right, cool. All right, so here we're in Roll20 as a player. If you come to the journal, you'll notice you don't have access to anything versus the DM's journal, which has all of the monsters and everything like that, right? So from a player's perspective, you're only going to see what you have access to or what the DM has shared with you. If you click create new character, you can give your character a name. If you have artwork already in your art library, then you can just simply drag that over here and here. Otherwise, you can just upload new artwork, hit save changes, and you're going to have that same screen that we saw before where you can excuse me, choose the ready to play characters or build a new character. Let's build a new one together. And we're just going to kind of fly through this. We're not going to take a really good look at all the different options that you can choose, but we kind of just want to go through how to do this. Not necessarily actually building the best character, right? And of course, Roll20 is being silly. So we'll try that again. Okay. All right. So we said we're going to build a rogue. We can come down here and click rogue. If you want, you can filter your options here to only owned content, which will include DM owned content that's shared with the game, right? So, my free account here doesn't have anything. I didn't purchase anything on this account. I only did it on my DM account, right? So we're going to come down here. We're going to build a rogue. You're going to hit select class. Anytime you see an exclamation point in yellow, means you have options. You can't complete creating your character until you get all green check on the bottom. So you can see where that yellow check mark is here. We're going to hit this down arrow, scroll down, and then we have weapon masteries that we have to choose. So we're going to choose whatever we want here, and then hit next. And then we're going to choose our race or species, which is what it's called now. It doesn't really matter. But again, this is showing featured content. We don't want that. We want only owned content, right? Oops. And we want only 2024. Okay. So, and then we can go down through and say, we only want characters that have dark vision, maybe. So now we have races that have dark vision. Okay. So maybe we're going to be an orc. Oh, I thought I chose only 20. I did. All right. Okay. So whatever. All right. So we're going to choose orc. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want. So now we know what our speed, our medium, we get all this cool stuff here. We're going to hit select species. We have a green check mark, so we can go through and read this if we want to know what it is. We hit next. And then we can choose our background. When you're choosing a background, you're going to kind of focus in on your ability score improvements. You get to select two options here for intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. That doesn't really fit with a rogue necessarily, but you can kind of go through and find which ones that do. We're looking for dexterity and wisdom, right? So we want stuff that has dexterity and wisdom. Armor, dexterity, wisdom. There. So we can be a guide. You can go through this, select whichever you want, but that's how I kind of choose my background, is which one's going to give me the ability score improvements. It's also going to give you origin feats. You get the magic initiate feat. So now you can cast magic as a rogue, which is kind of cool. So you can, pick and choose whichever one you want. Hit select background. We get a green check mark. So we're good. We can hit next. Now it's time for the ability score assignments. Get with your DM if you are a player and choose what, or let the DM tell you which way to go, or if they give you an option, you can do it that way as well. If it's the standard array, you get these scores 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, and you can assign them to whichever one you want. So if I want for a rogue, maybe I want great dexterity and wisdom and constitution, and then everything else I don't really care about. We can dump strength. And then maybe we do some intelligence and charisma, right? So we could do it that way using the standard array, or we can do a point buy system where you have 27 points, and then you can choose which ones you want. We want good dexterity, so we want that at a 15, which is the highest you can get. But that's going to cost 9 points. We also want good wisdom. Maybe we want that as well at 15, right? And then constitution, we're down to 9 points. So if we put another 15 on constitution, we're out of points, and everything else is a -1 now because we only have 8. So we're really dexterous, wise, and have good constitution, but we're stupid dumb. We have no charisma and we have no strength, which might be a fun character to play. It's really kind of up to you, right? And then lastly, you can roll. I don't think any DM would allow you to manually choose your your strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. Uh, but if they do, you can just set everything to 20 right here if you wanted to. But that would be a boring person to play, or boring player character to play. So if you do choose roll here, you're going to hit roll all. If you are a player, don't hit roll all, get crappy scores, clear all, roll all, get crappy scores, clear all until you get good scores. That's cheating, right? So get with your DM, make sure they're okay. Personally, what I do, this would be an acceptable roll for me. If the player gets three out of the 6 rolls that are 10 or less, I allow a reroll, because I kind of want it to be, I don't want everybody to be super weak, right? You're supposed to be adventurers, right? You're supposed to stand out amongst the commoners. So I'll allow a reroll if you have 10 or less. This one only has 2 that are 10 or less, so they wouldn't be able to reroll. But then you do the same thing you did with the standard array. So we have 215, so that's great. We're going to put it in dexterity and wisdom, and then we'll take that 13, put it in constitution, intelligence, charisma, and strength. Okay, cool. But we have an exclamation point here and here. If we scroll down to the guide, we can see we have ability score improvements. So now when you do this, you can choose one of these 3 to increase by 2, or 3 to increase by 1. So we definitely want our dex up. That'll get us to +3. If we do dex again down here, that'll get us to 17, which is great, but it's not going to give us that boost and that modifier. But it's going to get us close. So the next time we, at level 4, when we get another point that we can dump into our ability scores, we can get that +4 here. So maybe you do that. And then constitution, let's say, or wisdom. All right, so now we have a +3 in dex and wisdom. If you didn't want to do that and you wanted to do 1 in each, you could do that as well. Right. Then you hit next. We have the magic initiate. We have a little yellow exclamation point here. So we got to come down here. When we're casting spells, what do we want to use? Well, out of all of these 3 options, wisdom is probably the best with what we're choosing. Then we hit next. Then we get a bunch of skills that we can do. So we'll do, acrobatics. Let's say insight, perception, and we already have stealth. So let's do sleight of hand, I guess. And then we already have survival as well. And then expertise, we're going to choose, I don't know, let's do stealth. I want to be super stealthy as a rogue. And then maybe persuasion, or is perception an option? No, well, maybe sleight of hand or something. And that'll double our proficiency bonus. So sleight of hand and stealth, we get a +7 to any of those checks. That's pretty awesome, right? We got a green check mark. We're moving on. Now we got to select a cantrip, whichever one you want. That's in this list. Let's say we want guidance. We hit save selection. We actually get 2, so we got to select another one. Let's do, I don't know, shillelagh. Sure, it doesn't matter. And then save selection. So now we got 2 of 2. We're good. And then we also get a level 1 spell from that same one. So maybe we want Charm Person. Obviously, you're going to go through all of this. And if you want to know what the spell does, you can look at that there. And then Magic Initiate spell. We're not replacing a spell. Okay. And then next, we have some exclamation points again that we're just clearing exclamation points. So as a rogue, you get this, and as a guide, you have different starting equipment, right? So as a rogue, you're going to choose option A, and option A for the guide. Alternatively, you can choose 100 gold pieces and 50 gold pieces, and that'll give you 150 gold pieces to buy anything in the inventory chapter of this book. And then you can kind of personalize it, but you can see what you're getting with all of those over here. Then hit next. And then here you're going to choose your languages. You, just because you chose a certain race, we are an orc, right? I think is what we chose. Doesn't mean you know Orcish or whatever it's called. Is there an orc? Yeah, orc, right? So you want to make sure at least you choose that. But that could be part of your backstory. You're an orc, but you were raised by elves, right? So you don't know Orcish, right? And then maybe let's do Dwarvish. Sure. You choose whichever languages you want. You can choose your alignment over here. You can give yourself some flavor to flesh out your character and what their goals are, what their aspirations are, what their personality is. You know, all that stuff kind of goes into this as well. Now we have green check marks across the board. We hit review character. We kind of take a look, see what's good, and then hit build character, and we are done. We will go over the character sheet itself as it from a player character's character sheet in a different video. But what I do want to show you is what we see on the DM side of things when a player creates a player character. You can see that over here, and when we click it, we'll see all the options they chose and all this other stuff. But we also have edit capabilities of this, so we can actually change anything that we wanted to. Maybe they did manual and they did 20 across the board, and we don't want that. So then we're going to go through and maybe do the standard array and choose for them or work with them to get that changed, right? We're going to go through the character sheet, maybe even how to edit different things in the character sheet, because this is pretty new, and it's a little less intuitive, I think, than the old one, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's more intuitive, and I just know the old character sheet a lot better. But what we want to do as a DM, and what I want to show you is if you click on this button here to edit it, we can change the name, we can put it in different players' journals. What we cannot do is get rid of the player that created the character and hit save changes. Why? Because the character created it and it's tied to that player's Roll20 account. It's not part of your account as a DM, right? So we cannot change that. And that might be deal breaking for you as a DM if you have players that maybe come and go. Their availability is kind of all over the place, or maybe they can't make it this week, but they have a friend that's going to fill in or another player that's going to fill in for them. You can't give them access to their character sheet because it's not yours to give access to. That's the point. So maybe a better way of doing this is, as the DM, you create a new character for each one of your players, player one name, right? So Bob, you put Bob in here, right? Bob's character. And then you can maybe put it in all players' journals, and all players can be controlling it, right? So now it's in everybody's journal and anybody can control it, which is great because now you can sub in other different players to control that character. And then at this point, you just hit save changes, and then you call up Bob and you're like, hey, I created your character, it's ready to go. Bob would come in, and on the player side, you see Bob's character come in here and then go through the same process we just went through, right? But now here's where it gets a little tricky. That character belongs to you as a DM and is tied to your Roll20 account. So if they want to take that character and play it in another campaign run by another DM, they won't be able to, right? So keep that in mind. The situation might depend. But now we've created players' characters to play in our campaign, and we sent, like, all the players have gone through and done all this. We're nearly ready to actually start playing D&D. So tell me in the comments what you kind of want to learn more about Roll20. If you want me to switch gears here and kind of go a little bit further into what I do from a technology standpoint as a DM. This channel is really not telling you how to be a DM. I'm very inexperienced from the DM perspective, but I do pretty cool things with my Stream Deck and OBS, Photoshop, pretty cool stuff there. So if there's anything you want to learn, or if there's anything I missed in Roll20, let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to cover it. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.